Today is truly an historic day. Detroit and FCA are moving forward on an auto assembly plant with $2.5 billion investment, 5,000 jobs on the east side of the city of Detroit. Isn't that great? I want to start by thanking Tom Lawand, who has chosen to go on vacation. But our economic development director, this has been his baby for a year and a half, day and night. He believed in this when we were a long shot, even on FCA's radar, and it was extraordinary. And Mary Zuckerman, we could not have gotten this done without. She actually runs the St. John's Physician Network in her day job, but I got to thank Tony Tersini and Ascension, who loaned her to us. Mary has been up till midnight the last few nights in the last of the land negotiations on a totally voluntary basis, but nobody besides her could have gotten 215 acres bought in 60 days. And so the two of them were great. Jerry King is up here from the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. Jerry, raise your hand. Jerry is also a representative of the UAW, ran an outstanding community benefits process with I don't know how many meetings a week in a short period of time, came to an excellent result. And Bill King and the UAW, who have been terrific right from the beginning in supporting us. Everybody in this town actually pulled together. And we did something that I doubt any other city would have tried. We have assembled almost 215 acres in 60 days without the benefit of eminent domain, totally voluntary negotiations. And it was an extraordinary leap of faith by Mike Manley and by the entire FCA team. And of course, we've got our team here, Mark Stewart and Shane Carr, who isn't here today, but think about the implications to FCA. They bet on us these 60 days. Had we come up short, they'd have lost an entire year in their schedule if they had to start from scratch. And so, Mark, for you to have trusted us this way, I just want you to know how deeply Detroiters appreciate FCA's commitment. So we're here today because we were successful. And so here's the gist of it. You guys have packets. I hope we passed out the packets, did we? Okay, so I'll take you through an overview of them. All of the contracts are being submitted to City Council today, and they'll be available to you once the documents are done. But basically, we brought the land in under $108 million, which is actually less than half the cost the city spent on land on the JNAP plant in the 80s and the Poletown plant in the 80s. Now, we had an advantage in that we had a lot more vacant land than Mayor Young had to work with, but it's pretty remarkable that we could do that. That $108 million will be borne half by the city of Detroit and half by the state of Michigan. So basically, the city's contribution is $51 million, and those numbers are all detailed. The most important thing is we're getting a commitment for jobs for Detroiters. And what is contained in this agreement that FCA has signed today is something that's never been done before. What it says is this: the UAW employees have first right to the jobs pursuant to their contract. That's the way it should be. But once the obligations are met to the union, the hiring starts with Detroiters first. That there is going to be a 1 to 2 week window period at which the Detroit at Work program will have identified Detroiters qualified for the jobs, and the Detroiters will be interviewed first when the initial plant opens in late 2020, but beyond that, for years to come. As FCA hires at that MAC plant, they will always interview from the Detroit list first before proceeding to candidates from other places. And so long as the city of Detroit does what we've committed to do, which is recruit and have Detroiters job ready, it's going to be a plant that truly benefits the city. And if there are people out there today who are thinking, working at the FCA plant sounds like a great career, I'd like to do it, you got about a year to move into the city of Detroit. Because if you move in, you'll be at the head of the line, and we'd love to have you. So Mike Manley, Mark Stewart, Shane Carr, Christy Nesterreicher, the entire FCA team, we've pretty well been living with each other around the clock, but they believe that we could do it, And they believe not just the administration can do it, but City Council. And Council President Brenda Jones, the Economic Development Chair James Tate, Councilman Benson, and the councilman from the district, Andre Spivey, the volume of materials that they are going to have to go through, including the 9 documents today, to get them done on this timeline, it means FCA was confident that they would get a fair and prompt review out of council. And this is the advantage when a mayor and council work together. This is the first plant in Detroit in 30 years. We would not have had any chance at this if it was the old city fighting with each other and creating a lot of drama. We got here by working together. As far as what's in your packet, let me take you through the basics of the deal. This won't be a long version. You have on your left side a document that you've seen before, Jerry King and the team on the community benefits agreement, and it's a $35 million package, $19 million in workforce and education. We're going to have a Center for Advanced Manufacturing at Southeastern High School. There's going to be support to train Detroiters. There's also going to be significant investment in the neighborhoods, both in demolition of vacant homes and rehabbing of homes, and we are going to buffer the neighborhoods with a quality wall because we didn't think the neighbors should bear the brunt of the downside, since the 5,000 jobs would benefit the whole city, as well as improved roadways. And so to Arthur Jemison, to Jeff Donofrio, Matt Walters, Kai Bowman, the team that worked those community benefits meetings so well, thank you to all of them. The next piece in here is the land deal, what you've been, I think, probably waiting for. And so let me just take you through the basics. There's 2 pages in here. One includes the funding. And so our agreement is, of the $108 million, $57 million coming from the state, $51 million from the city. None of the city's funds are coming from our general funds that take away from city services. We weren't going to do that. So we have $36 million in here from uncommitted bond funds, funds that were available for economic development projects. We got $7.5 million we're loaning to the brownfield that we'll get back. And we have $7 million from the proposed sale of a downtown garage that hopefully will go through. And so what we've got is $51 million that wouldn't have been spent on police, fire, or committed to basic city services. We were not going to reduce city services. In fact, just the opposite is going to happen. When you get 5,000 more people working and they're paying income tax, we're going to be able to enhance city services, not reduce them. So we feel extremely good. And for those of you who've been keeping score at home, there's a $12 million property tax break from the city of Detroit that we announced in the first deal. So the $51 million in land contributions and the $12 million in the tax break is a $63 million city contribution to get $2.5 billion in investment. This is the way we believe development should be done. As far as the purchasers, this was the biggest challenge. If we were not going to have to give up money we needed for police and fire, that means we had to find a different way to make deals. And so one thing the city has a lot of, not a lot of cash, but we have a lot of land. And so we said, what would happen if we swapped our vacant land as much as we possibly could for land that FCA needed? And so we succeeded in reaching agreements where we swapped 155 acres of property to the different buyers, and it cut down our costs by about $15 million. And so you can see in here, the land itself is $48 million, 155 acres we swapped, which probably been worth another $15 million, and then we are contributing another $60 million for improvement to the site, whether that's environmental remediation, whether it's site preparation and the like, which puts the land package at $108 million. You had folks like Jerry Anderson at DTE, like the Hance family, like the Suave family, which is listed here as Fodale. They worked with us, so we put out almost no cash, almost all land swaps. These were companies that I think put the interests of the city of Detroit first and said, we know you don't have a lot of cash, we're going to make this happen. You had other individuals who purchased in the city of Detroit at a time we were in decline and nobody wanted to be here. And they felt like this was their opportunity to make a fair profit. And so you have the Yahanian family from California that we bought land south of the Mac Connor Shopping Center for $3 million. and, as you might have all expected, the Maroon family, which was the only property around here that wasn't vacant land. Everything else was vacant land. Pretty easy to swap vacant land for vacant land. The Maroons have an 80-acre parcel that is filled with vehicles because they have another 9 years of a lease with FCA that pays them $3 million a year. And so the negotiations with the Maroon family was very, very different. They had a major income-producing property, and we had to strike a different kind of a deal. And we ended up with an agreement where we're paying them $43.5 million in cash and swapping them 117 acres of land. And we feel like that worked out for everybody. It was an enormously complex deal. It also involves the Maroons building more employment centers for FCA that will also benefit East Siders, and those details will be coming. Our biggest problem was this. With a 60-day limit in this city and swapping land all over the city, we did really intense title reviews and environmental reviews right around the FCA property. When we started swapping 155 acres all around the city, in this town, you don't know what you run into in title issues or environmental issues. And so a number of the partners said to us, okay, we'll make this deal, but it's subject to due diligence. We've got to make sure we're satisfied with the title of the property, we're satisfied to the environmentals, and we need to be protected. And so the city has agreed that we'll have a $20 million contingency fund so that if individual parcels end up not being able to be sold, we'll replace that with cash. I don't expect that contingency fund to be heavily utilized, but if we'd had a year like somebody normally would have taken, we'd have had time to work it all out. The only way to get this done in time for FCA to get going and get built by the end of 2020 was to get people to basically take this on faith and be backed up by contingency. And so on this chart, you can see with each of the individual property owners what we paid in cash and what we swapped in land. The last piece is the development agreement between the City of Detroit and FCA. And it's 100 and some pages long, but it's relatively simple. It says the plant will be open no later than the end of 2022, that there'll be 3,850 additional jobs at the MAC plant. That's in addition to what's being done at JNAP, that they'll put $1.6 billion into the MAC plant in addition to the $900 million in JNAP. And as I said, the most critical commitment, that Detroiters will get preference in the hiring, both in the initial hiring and as long as that MAC plant operates. As long as Detroit at work produces a quality group of applicants, Detroiters are going to get first shot at the jobs. We also put in taxpayer protections. If we don't recover the money we put in over 30 years, FCA has to pay us back. We're confident that's not going to happen, but we've had instances in this city where people have said promises haven't been met, and in this case, it has been protected. So to the folks who worked on that, Dave Menardo, Luke Polson, Kenyatta Hairston Bridges, Cassie Meidel, there was extraordinary work on the development agreement. And on the land process, Katie Hammer, Becky Navin, Basil Cherian, and Ellie Savitt. There were times we literally had 3 teams of people in 3 different buildings negotiating 3 different documents. The teams, we didn't exactly make the 60 days. It took us 65, but I think we're pretty proud of the outcome. And so all documents are being sent to City Council. I know that my colleagues are going to intensely review them and be satisfied with what has been laid out here. And it's certainly our hope that by the middle of May that we can get approval through so that we can stay on schedule and get this plant open by the end of 2020. And so with that, I want to turn it over to somebody we were just very lucky to have had injected into this process. He came in just as the decision was being made to give Detroit first shot, and he has been the guiding force in keeping us together through all of the highs and lows. So please welcome FCA's representative, Mark Stewart. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. As you all know, as generations of Detroiters know, as a Southern guy that Detroit is now my home knows, right? A new automotive assembly plant can provide really great paying jobs, great paying union jobs, great paying salary jobs for the next generation and the next generation. And one of the things that we're very proud to be here today to meet this milestone towards achieving that goal is for us to start very soon and continue to work with the council here in the coming days to get the project across the line. And we're on a very tight timeline. We've got some exciting new vehicles, as we shared 60 in a couple days ago, right? that we're really excited to introduce into the market. Both our refreshed Grand Cherokee, 2 new high-end market, larger SUVs for us that the market really needs. And as we mentioned before, to really plant our flag of Jeep, of this being our hometown in Detroit. And 30 years ago plus, as we started JNAP, we've had a great experience all together with JNAP. So the opportunity to revitalize JNAP for the next generation of the Grand Cherokee, to build the Mack plant, and for us to provide opportunities. And as the mayor said, and we'll cover it again, because we want to make sure we're really clear on that, right? With a priority for our qualified Detroit residents, with all of us having an equal share in terms of helping to develop our local residents, starting in our zip codes right around our home base of Mack, so that those folks have the priority coming in as new employees with us. And as the mayor said, and as Jerry worked so well with the team, right, from community benefits as well, we'll fulfill our UAW obligations as we always do. We've got a great partnership together. We always have. And the next step is in two-week implements, right? We'll have those windows open for folks. So it's really imperative as we get through the rest of this approval process to start working with Dr. Vitti and the team from local high school to start the partnerships there, to get the training programs in place. And so that by the time that construction's finished, on a very tight timeline as well, we've also got folks ready to roll. And as the mayor said, it's such a great agreement of long-term commitment for jobs for us here in Detroit, for our residents, with a priority there. Awesome ongoing, super proud of it. A little emotional about it. It's really exciting moment for us. Still a few hurdles to go, right? So for our vision, right, our vision for FCA is to continue to make Jeep, one of our flagship brands, in addition to Ram, in addition to our Wrangler, a little bit down the road, there's the state that starts with an O, but we have such a great history here. And this, for our next phase, to be able to participate in terms of providing to the community, providing to our employees, providing to our customers, and to really continue to secure a place with the Jeep brand, right? It has a passion, it has a freedom, and we want everybody to be a part of that. We want to start with our residents here in Detroit. So really thank everybody for that, and looking forward to working with you. We want to turn it over next to Bill King with the UAW, where we partnered to make sure we made it successful. Bill.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to, on behalf of the UAW, the leadership, President Gary Jones, Vice President Cindy Estrada, thank everyone for all the hard work they put into making this happen. Especially our members, our membership that works in the plants along with others every single day to build great products. And by those great products they build, FCA has this commitment to us, to here in the city of Detroit, to make this investment, make it all possible. I'd like to thank Mayor Duggan, his staff for all the work they've done with the land acquisition, bringing this together, along with FCA, and the Neighborhood Advisory Council, the hard work that they did volunteering for all of this, and the impact residents. Attending many of the meetings, there was very tough conversations that went on, a lot of good questions, but got to know and meet a lot of great people here in the city of Detroit and the passion they have for their community. UAW is supportive of that community and working together to make sure that the Neighborhood Advisory Council is able to follow through and on the commitments that have been made. We look forward to continue the work. We think this is a great first step with the benefits that are in the package, but we want to continue that relationship in the future to making sure that we have that good spirit, that good neighborhood spirit that we all like here in the city of Detroit. So again, I want to thank everyone for all their hard work and appreciate what everybody has done and look forward to the new members that we have coming. With our current membership, this is great job security for everyone. So next, I'd like to welcome up Councilman Spivey for the next speaker.
Good afternoon. This is a very exciting day, but your faces don't show that, those of you who are here. This is a very exciting day. I want to thank the mayor summed up everything. And if you really knew what it took the last few days, yesterday we were downstairs on 11 making the initial announcement. If you knew what it actually took to get to this time today, you would be very happy with the administration, DGC, FCA, the mayor's administration, city council, and the committee members all played a wonderful role. Chrysler and FCA have been a part of this community for generations, and now we have a new generation that will come be on board as employees at FCA. We're very excited for probably our biggest corporate citizen in District 4. We're glad they're expanding. I pass by FCA every day, albeit my new route will have to change now somewhat. But I think that small sacrifice is very good for a larger addition to the FCA family. And so we're very excited about what can happen in the future. This is just one plant coming right now, in addition of the JNAP, but more may come in the future. We're very excited about the jobs that are coming for Detroit, particularly those in District 4 who will be employed. And then going forward, as we said, for DPS, for DESC, for Wayne County Community College District, our job now is to make sure people are prepared when the jobs are here in 2020. So we have to start that right now, preparing for background checks and educational achievements, and make sure folk are prepared to do that. I, myself, my colleague Scott Mitchell, others roll up our sleeves. But there's a small group who I'd like to thank, and these people are the Neighborhood Advisory Council. Two are here today, Jerry King and Henry Williams. It's different when you are an elected official and you're used to being in front of people all the time. We had some very spirited meetings every Wednesday in March and in April, and some of them sat there very concerned. But they made it through, and these are two who made it through here. Without their help, we could have done this. And I believe my colleague to my left, Scott Benson, we brought forward Proposal B about 3 years ago. Again, we are still the only major city in this country with a CBO. And this says a lot. And Detroit did it, FCA did it, we did it all together. So I am excited. If I weren't working here for the city of Detroit, I might be trying to get a job at FCA. But I'll stay where I am for right now. So we thank all of you for the hard work that you've done. Now let's work to get people hired, applying and hired to take these jobs over the next few decades. And now I bring my wonderful colleague. This is our second press conference today together with the mayor. My colleague to the east and the north, Councilman Scott Benson, District 3. Scott Benson.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for that, Councilman Spivey. And so it's always an honor and a privilege to come before you, and I just really want to piggyback on what Member Spivey and the mayor has said today and all these other speakers about how important it's been that the community has been involved in this. And so the Neighborhood Advisory Council is what has pulled us through. Just as Councilman Spivey said, 3 years ago, the residents of the city of Detroit had a choice, and they chose Prop B. Now, that was a huge test to see if a city could do something around the community benefits agreements and the community benefits ordinance that would work. And as Member Spivey said, we're the only ones that have something as far-reaching. We have proven concept in the city of Detroit. $5 billion later worth of investment, and over 11,000 jobs have come to the city within the last 3 years, and they have all gone through the community benefits agreement process. That is huge, nowhere else. If you look at other municipalities that have had opportunities to take on huge catalyst, quality of life changing jobs, they didn't do that. The community pushed back. They did not have a voice at the table. This is why something like the Community Benefits Ordinance is so important, and why having members of an NAC, the community, they get to look the developers in the eye and say, this is what we need, and this is what we demand as a community to make this work. We want you to bring your business here, but we also want to make sure that you respect the community and any negative impacts are offset and mitigated by an investment that will be made or modifications to the deal, and they've done that. And so I just want to say what Jerry King has done and what the residents of Detroit trusted in us to do, once we asked them to put this on the books, they did it, and it's paying dividends. Every 5,000 jobs we see in the city of Detroit is about 1% of our general fund. Imagine that. So in the last 2 years, last year, we've had 2 deals that have come through that are producing 5,000 jobs each. We are seeing a 1% and a 2% increase to our general fund. That is huge for the city of Detroit. Just 5 years ago, we were in bankruptcy. We're not going to go back. But the way we're not going to go back is to make sure we continue to grow our general fund and bringing in deals like this, going through the community benefits ordinance is one of the ways we're going to make that happen. And Jerry King, who led the NAC and made sure that we got from the starting gate to the finish line, was able to make that happen for us. So I really want to bring on Jerry King and say thank you for what you've done here.
So I would like to say thank you to the citizens that came out and voted to get and made their voice heard that they wanted a community benefits agreement. Never before has the community had opportunity to sit at the table with a developer and carve out what their future is going to look like. And we got the opportunity to do that right here in City Council District 4. And so it's a privilege, and I look forward to the opportunities because I am a UAW represented FCA employee, and I know what those benefits and the opportunities that both entities have created for me. And so I'm grateful, and I know they changed lives, and we're going to see a lot of change in this community. So I look forward to working with everybody as we continue the process. Thank you.
So thank you, Jerry, and acknowledge a few more people in that community benefits process. FCA's representative, Ron Stallworth, who did such a great job. And the city staff, Letty Azar and Ray Solomon and Vince Keenan, who worked that process as well. One last thing I want to point out, I've been checking my messages, but on your list, we still don't have Conrail's signature on a page. They're on the phone right now, and I expect we're going to have it shortly, but I wanted to make sure I didn't represent anything inaccurately. So at the moment, we have 208 of the 215 acres signed, and I expect to have the other 7 acres signed shortly. With that, we'll take any questions.
Mayor, the land that the Marines get, 100%, where is that at?
So Katie Hammer is here somewhere. Where's Katie? So Katie actually understands it. And if you would like to talk to her afterwards, they are pieces in different parts of the city, most of which adjacent to where they already held property. So we tried to figure out if they had 10 acres somewhere, we tried to give another 5 acres so that you'd have a developable parcel. And Katie could give you the entire list of where those parcels are, but it's no one place. It's probably 8 or 10 locations in the city.
This is for FCA. Is groundbreaking date or a name picked out yet?
So we thought we'd hold back a bit on the groundbreaking day as we get to the next milestone, right, here in the next, hopefully in the next days. And in terms of the plant, we're calling it the Mac plant, right? But we'll see if it transforms into something else on that. But yeah, we're really excited to be where we are. And again, big thanks to everyone behind and all the folks out here that helped to bring that across the line, right? And the mayor hit on it, Jerry hit on it as well, but the community benefit activities that we have going specifically around the Mac plant is to give priority for those residents in that zip code very first, and then second of all to partner for summer internships for the high school folks, and those developments that we talked about with the high school and the tech center as well to create those jobs around MAC and also around JNAP, but really excited.
Mayor, would you reiterate the frenetic pace of getting this done, and if any aspect, particularly maybe the maroon property, was really the most difficult to get it finalized?
You know, I stood here about 20 years or so ago to lay out the details of the Comerica Park Ford Field negotiation, which I thought was the most complicated thing I ever saw. That was easy compared to this. And so we had to accommodate the needs of FCA, which normally assembly plants are built on 600-acre stretches of farmland, and it had to be fit here. We had logistics needs, we had suppliers needs, you had interesting relationships, and some of the people we were buying land from were also suppliers to FCA. They wanted to know how they were going to be treated by FCA, and so the FCA team, the city team, and the folks from the different buyers literally spent hours and hours and hours in a room. And I think Tuesday night and Wednesday night, our two teams and the Maroons were probably in rooms till midnight working it through. But it was very constructive, very professional, and I think we worked out something in each case that worked for all of us. But there was a lot of tension. Once I got past Saturday and we didn't have a deal, and every day I called Mark and say, do we have another day extension? And he says, I think we're still good. So I didn't want to push it past today. Had we gone past today, we'd have lost time in the construction schedule that was critical. So we knew we didn't really intend to stage a news event at Friday at 4 o'clock. This is when we got it done. Yes.
The $6 million for training Detroiters for these jobs, the state money, can we get more specific? Does the city have a goal on how many Detroiters should be hired? Is there a quota? And what kind of training will they need?
So is Jeff here? Do we have somebody here who really knows the training numbers? You know what, we'll get Jeff Donofrio to give you the answer on the exact sources and uses, but it's not a matter of a quota. We have an agreement on a process, which is as FCA goes to hire their first 4,000 folks, you might have some people who were laid off at a different plant from the UAW have a right to transfer in. You might have some temporaries or a right to claim a permanent job. They honor their UAW contract. After that, there's a window period. And during that window period, even if it's only a week or two, the next 1,000 or 2,000 people that come into the pipeline, assuming we do our job right, are Detroiters. And then once the Detroiters that we have lined up for that window, and we know that window's coming somewhere in mid to late 20s, so we've got a year to prepare for it. Once that window's exhausted, then they can proceed to interview people from the suburbs. In the middle of 2023, when they go to hire 100 people, we will have a Detroiters eligible list. They will interview the Detroiters first, and once they run through the Detroit list, if there's still positions open, they will move on. So the quota, in significant part, is on us. It's our job to recruit and have qualified Detroiters ready to go. They're not going to wait for us. If they call us and we don't have a list, we're not going to hold up their plant. And so I'm very confident Jeff Donofrio and the Detroit at Work team will have a continual list of qualified Detroiters ready to go. And if this works, we're going to start to offer this service to other employers. Detroit's got to get used to winning again on these competitions. And people were shocked we won on Ford. People were shocked we won on Waymo. We're going to keep winning these. But if we can deliver job-ready folks for employers who come here, we're going to have a competitive advantage on other cities in the Midwest and around the country. And that's our goal. I'm confident Jeff's going to get it right.
But just generally speaking, what kind of training would it entail? What kind of skills does somebody need to occupy one of the positions?
So it really will cover the gamut of our roles, if you will, when we go to, in terms of partnering with Southeastern High School and as one venue for that, also to the technical community college with opportunity to get an associate's degree through that process. So it really will go back to the very basics of different roles within the assembly site to very technical roles. And then as people matriculate into the system, both with Bill, Cindy, the UAW team, we've got a great training center together where we train our skilled trades. And so people have great opportunities for that. Also tuition reimbursement if they choose to go a four-year route on an engineering or other degree. So everything is a part of that.
To either of you, are the employee numbers cited plant-based, or will there be other suppliers relocating and potential other job growth, or can you paint a better portrait of that?
So the numbers the investments that we've discussed and the jobs that we've quoted for both the JNAP expansion and the new plant at MAC, those are all FCA internal only roles. So definitively there will be other suppliers and our partners and so forth that will be very interested to come into that area as well. We already have many folks in the city. We have many partnerships there, but others I'm sure will come. So we typically would anticipate that a multiplier factor, if you will, of those jobs from a benefit. But it's not part of the base.
Is there any number you can guesstimate on that?
I'm not going to put a number on it, but we're going to have a bunch of announcements. But you think about this, the way FCA operates, they would like their supplier base as close as possible to deliver as quickly and as reliably as possible. Right now, we got to go assemble some more land on the east side of Detroit. But you are going to see major supplier operations locate on the east side of Detroit in the coming year. We'll have those announcements to support this plant. This is the thing, an assembly plant is a multiplier of 8. That's where they put the parts together. Somebody makes the windshield, somebody makes the tires, somebody makes the door frames, and they all come there to assemble. And so they could source them from Ohio, they could source them from Alabama, but it's to FCA's advantage to source them nearby, and it's now our responsibility to have sites ready to go so that when a flexing gate comes along and says I can be in 5 different cities, I can say to them, you don't need to look to anybody else. We're gonna make this work for you. And so we're not gonna put a number on it, but you're gonna see we're gonna continue to land more and more of these. Detroit's gonna be a place that makes things. That's what we always were, and we're gonna get back to that.
What is the solid timeline on the community benefits deliverables? How is that?
Yeah, all of it is spelled out in the detail on your on the packet that the NAC signed. Jerry, you want to talk about what you have in there?
On the deliverables? Well, we've asked for a Gantt chart to understand the whole plan and how it's going to be rolled on in a time basis, and so that we know what to ask for at certain stages. And we also ask for deliverables delivered to us every 90 days as these certain programs come up, how they're going to be executed, and the checks and balances that we need to look at to make sure that what was asked for is actually being delivered. And so we'll be meeting on that and learning the process of developing that as we move forward in the process. It's not over. It's a continuous process.
So Arthur Jemison is here. Arthur, raise your hand. If afterwards you want to get into the intricacies of the Neighborhood Advisory Community Benefits Agreement, Arthur can take you through all of them. Any other questions? All right, thank you all very much for being here.